On the back of your whiteboards, if you guys could take a look at it, I have a little bit of an equation frame. An equation frame. Think of this like a fill-in-the-blank equation. How many blanks are there to fill in? We have 1, 2, 3 blanks. Let's read the titles of each blank. Let's start with the first one. Ready? Read. Initial quantity. Stop right there. Initial quantity, what does that mean? That means how much do we have at the very beginning? Remember back to our population growth? We started with, on the initial amount was 2,000. On the video, how many were there to begin? 3. 2 or 3, right? So that's the initial quantity. What's the next unknown fill in the blank that we have to find? Ready, read?
Constant factor.
And the constant factor, since these, if we're doing a growth equation, this number, what do we know in comparison to 1? The number that goes in here, if it's growth, it's greater than 1. All right, so numbers greater than 1 will go in here if these are growth equations. And let's read the last unknown, the last fill in the blank. Ready? Read.
Final quantity.
And just like we had on our previous example, we wanted to know how many days to reach 32,000. So the final quantity is how high do we want to get to? And then we can find how long it will take to get there. All right, so we have just 3 things we need to fill in. 3 unknowns to fill in to create our equation. So I have a couple of steps to do if I'm going to get these problems correctly. What's the first thing I need to do? Read step number 1 for me where it says write. Ready? Read.
Right and exponential.
Even though the equation is on your piece of paper, I want us to do this because it shouldn't take all that long. But I want you guys to see how it's not too tough to read through the word problem and really get this information out of it. Mia is creating a new social networking site with 3 of her classmates. And Mia and how many people? Mia and 3 classmates. So if this is Mia, classmate 1, 2, and 3, how many people are starting the website at the very beginning?
4.
There are 4 people. And what did we call this in our fill in the blank? We called it the initial quantity. So I put a 4 in my initial quantity. Write down 4 for your initial quantity.
She estimates the number of members will triple every month.
They will triple every month. Triple. Tripling is our constant factor because that tells us how we are going to grow. We're going to start with some amount, then we're going to multiply by 3 to it. Then after that, the next month, we're going to multiply by 3 to it. And then the next month, we're going to multiply by 3. Then the next month, we're going to multiply by 3. So what do we call that? We call that the constant factor. So there you go.
How long will it take to
How high do they want us to get to? They want us to start with 4 members and get eventually up to? 972. And what do we call that? We call that our final quantity. So everyone write in 972 in your final quantity. Purple, tell your neighbor, tell your green partner, how did Mr. Chavez find the initial quantity, constant factor, and final quantity to create this equation?
The initial quantity starts out SA's website with 3 of her classmates.
Read step number 2 for me so you guys can remind me what to do. Where it says divide. Ready? Read. All right, I'm going to get my hands dirty with you guys, metaphorically, because I have a technology pen here. So I'm going to divide both sides by the initial amount. What was the initial amount, students? 4. So take a look at the board here. So to show dividing in an equation, we use a fraction bar with the 4 underneath it. Fraction bar with the 4 underneath. I haven't actually divided anything yet. I've just written that I'm going to divide by 4. So let's look at the left-hand side. Looking at the left-hand side, I have 4 dividing by 4. What's 4 divided by 4?
0.
No, 4 divided by 4 is 1. If it was 0, it would just make everything go away, which would not be good. It's 1, and so it has the effect of going away. And that's what you guys are thinking of when you guys say 0. You guys are thinking it goes away. All right, so we're going to do step number 3. Can you guys read for me where it says solve? Ready? Read.
Solve for the variable.
On the left-hand side, what's left over? Just 3 to the x power. That's it. But what's 972 divided by 4? Anyone know off the top of their head? Off the top of your head, you got that? Impressive. You know what I would have to do? I'd have to do the work. And here it is. You guys ever seen a cooking show? And they say, here it is? All right, well, just think of this like a cooking show. What happened here? I had 972, long division, dividing by 4. And what was my answer? 243. 243. So you guys would have to do that, and you guys would find out that it's 243. But this was Mr. Chavez's problem. Does this look familiar? We did something like this on our activation of prior knowledge. But here's a little bit of some extra information. How is this going to help us right now? What is this? This is a chart of 3 to different powers. So it says 3 to the first power is what? 3 to the second power is? 3 to the third power is? 3 to the fourth power is? 3 to the fifth power is? 243. So that's the one I'm going to use. Because remember, I'm thinking, what is that power? What does that need to be? Remember, every x is a number. We just need to find it. And so I know that I need it to be the power that equals 243 in the end. So I come look at my chart, and x must be what number? X must be 5, and I can write down x equals 5. So let's read step number 4. Ready? Read.
Interpret the solution.
And interpret is just another way of saying this word down here that says explain. So we're going to explain what x equals 5 means. And so I want us to go back to our boards. And I want us to take a look at where is the x? On which number is the x? Is it the power of the initial quantity, the constant factor, the first or the final quantity? Which one was it? The constant factor. The constant factor was triple. And how often did it triple? Every month. So I want you guys to take your pens here. And right here it says x represents the number of, what does it represent the number of? It represents the number of months. It represents the number, how we know to triple it again. We triple it after every month. So the number of months. So can you guys read that whole sentence starting with x represents? Ready? Read.
X represents the number
of months. And I just found that x equaled 5. So what does that mean? That means that how long will it take for Mia and her friends to reach 972 members? How long?
5 months.
It will take 5 months. And so just for a quick notation, I just want you guys to write, it will take 5 months. All right, I got a pair share for you guys right now. I want you guys to turn to your neighbor, and I want you guys to tell them, how did Mr. Chavez know that when we found x equals 5, that it meant that it will take 5 months? Number 4.
Mr. Chavez found out that 5 equals 5 months because the number of members will trip every month. So our variable was 5, which x equals 5. So that's what 5 equals 5, the 5 months.
Because it triples every
Every month.
There we go. All right, thank you very much.